Bloop. Bloop, bloop. Bloop. You know what that is? That's the bait of the day. Old Hula Popper. Man, bet y'all forgot about this bait, hadn't you? Best way to work this bait is don't do nothing. Just let it sit there. I've got mine slightly modified. I actually put a screw eye in the very back of it, so the skirt will hide the rear hook with the bottom hook right here so it don't get hung together. And anytime you got these old hangers, fellas, put a split ring on there because it gives it full, complete movement. And these hooks probably look weird because I prefer to use Eagle Claw, long shank, black nickel hooks. These are discontinued, but that gives you better reach for if they want to come up and nip at that Hula Popper. I actually just bet all the top waters I use have these kind of hooks on them just because it gives you a little bit more reach. Because how many times have you had a bass nip at a top water and you miss them because you just don't have a long enough hook shank? But that's the bait of the day, and I didn't hook myself. Good on that one. Are you ready to run a gun? It's time for blast off. Let's go. Hey guys, welcome back to Bassin 101. Todd here with you. We're helping others to keep it simple is number one. Welcome to Simplify Your Fishing Part 8. And here we go with not another video about fishing line, because there's just so many of them out there. Is there a number one fishing line? Yes, there is. And it's in your opinion. And it's in my opinion. And it's in everybody else's opinion. So no matter what they try to tell you, what you like to use, the best line you can use. How simple is that? So don't get too confused with this stuff, guys. Don't get too overdrawn with it. I got a few choice lines I use here, and doesn't mean I use them all the time. A lot of times I just play with them. But I try to keep it simple as I can and utilize the deals that utilize the lines as I want to use them. Of all the lines I've tried, especially the monofilaments and everything else, the craziest thing is that's what I end up going back to every single time. Trilene XT green. And I also use XL green for spinning rods. But to be honest with you, when it comes to spinning rods, I don't have a very strong hook set, and I also don't use a very long handle on the back of my rod. I prefer shorter handles on a spinning rod, so you don't get a whole lot up in here, because I like to keep them in front of me the best I can. And I like a braid to leader because it just helps with the hook set. That's the only reason I do it. Everybody else can have their own viewpoints, and I'll actually use fluorocarbon as a leader. Speaking of fluorocarbon, you got so many different makers of fluorocarbon. This is what I like. I've tried a couple of others. I really didn't care for them, but this is the best casting as far as what I've experienced. I will not use this for worms and jigs or anything that bounces on the bottom. I will not use fluorocarbon because fluorocarbon lays flat in the water and just drags your lure across the bottom. I don't like that. Look at one in a swimming pool or some shallow water next time you're out and compare this to monofilament. At least monofilament kind of floats like this, and it gives you a little bit more hop off the bottom than fluorocarbon does. But that's just my opinion, okay? Because I probably fish a worm and a jig different than you do. I tend to be a little more old school and kind of more of a moving it, hopping it, and everything else. Rarely do I drag it. So that's not really for me. But jerk baits, as a leader on spinning rods, even deep cranking, this is not a bad idea because it sinks. Not because it's fluorocarbon, just because it sinks. So that's actually a good choice right there. Copolymer. Now, Copolymer's been around, I think Prime was probably the very first one around 85, 86. But these are the two copolymers that I'll sometimes use. I have these on a few rods. This, unfortunately, is no longer available as far as I know because you can't find them anywhere, not even at Berkeley. I mean, their stock is not much at all. But this reminds me of the old tournament strength that we had about 20 years ago with the photochromic line where sunlight changes it and it's clear underwater. And this is, I mean, you could put like 17, 20-pound tests on a rod and it casts like 12. I mean, it really does good. It is abrasion resistant like you wouldn't believe. This does a good job. Sensation is something I really haven't experimented very much with, but I like the fact that it's a slightly thinner diameter than the pound test. So this is 8 pound and it's just about the size of 6. So this can definitely have some advantages, especially with jerk baits, especially cranking, especially light crankbaits, like shad wraps on a spinning rod or something like that. That's a good choice for that too. So again, kind of keeping it simple with the things. And you notice anytime I use the monofilament, it's green. That's all I use, well, except for the photochromic stuff. And last but not least, we have Braid. Now, personally, I've experimented with a lot of braids. Trilene braid was one I used for a while until I found this stuff. And I was like, I got to try this because I've seen some reviews on this. So I tried it. Love it. But I use this on a leader. I'll use this for Carolina rigging. I'm not a big heavy bait throwing kind of guy, so I keep 30-pound test. I think that's what it says on there. This is 20 pounds. So 20 pound to me, that would be on a spinning rod. Sometimes I'll use 15 on a spinning rod. I could probably throw that on there for a frog because it doesn't matter. You can throw it on a frog. I'll use a gray line. It's a little easier to see, especially Carolina rigging. You can kind of watch your line a little bit. Or worming and jigging, you can kind of see this a little bit better. Fire line is if I'm using straight braid. I've got a little kit that I have packed up. It's got one spinning rod, one bait casting. It's 2-piece rods, has a little tackle kit in there or whatever. I just grab that and go anywhere I want to go. And both rods have fire line on them because it kind of covers the whole gamut as far as if I'm going to be fishing stained water, clear water, whatever. 14 on one, 8 on the other. And we're talking sewing thread. So it's not like they're really visible. I've thrown 14-pound fire line in clear water, still caught fish. So apparently it's not something they can see that well. And the smoke color especially is what I use. But the new stuff, I mean, I'm sure some of you might have tried the fire line back in the old days. And the color would wear off and it would fray a little bit or whatever, but it still never broke. But since they changed it, I don't have any issues with any of that stuff anymore. So this is definitely something I would recommend. But again, if there is a braid that you prefer, that's going to be the best braid for you to use. All right, so I'm not going to sit here and tell you the best lines and you got to use this because everything. I'm just showing you what I use. Okay, and that's a very simple setup. That's 7 different kind of spools of line. And, basically, I've always told everybody if I could have one line and 1 pound test to fish the rest of my life, what would it be? 14-pound green XT. Rest of my life. Now, when I'm using my old reels, my old PS10s, stuff like that, I strictly use monofilament. I might go to Fireline once in a while on those reels. Other than that, I just use monofilament. When I start moving up, like I've got a bunch of the Millionaire Z's, and from around 2000 era, I got quite a few of those in my collection, and those I can actually step up and use like Braid to leader, fluorocarbons, stuff like that, and of course the brand new stuff that Daiwa has released, just came out in the last 6 months to a year. Stuff like that, I'll use a mixture of different things depending on what I'm doing, because I'll use a different line when it comes to spinner baits. usually a little bit heavier line. I'll use different line when it comes to cranking and top water, which that's pretty much just monofilament. Worms and jigs, I use Braid to a leader, so forth and so on. Don't have to. I can use straight monofilament for jigs and worms. It wouldn't bother me a bit because I'm a line watcher. So, you know, I'll see it when they hit it. But that's just a very small little deal there. And, you know, again, it's what you like to do. I'm just showing you what I do, and maybe, you know, it might help you out a little bit in case there's some of you guys out there just kind of having a hard time trying to figure out what's going on, because a lot of you guys are kind of new into this. So you're looking for some honest information, and I'm just trying to help you guys and teach you a little bit. But again, it still comes down to, when it comes to simplify your fishing, listen to yourself. That's the most important thing. I hope you guys enjoyed the channel. I hope you enjoyed this particular video and other videos I've done beforehand. Been getting a lot of good feedback from you guys, and I really appreciate that. I do read every one of them, and all the emails I get, I appreciate that too. So don't forget to tell your friends, hit the subscribe button, click the bell icon for when I ever come out with a new video. May the Father bless you and keep you in Yeshua's name, and we'll catch you next time. Fish on.